So this is the recap for live stream at 3:49, and today certainly could have been a better day. I did think it might have been a losing day, as I seem to have bad days on Thursdays for the past 9 years. So let's have a look at the market. We had the PPI news come out pre-market in around about 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. A bit of a market mover just to see how imported prices are. Well, producer prices. So that came out about 8:30. Had a market move down here on gold. Came to market around about our usual time. There was a short there. Came a bit earlier than we normally would like. We normally come to the market around 11:30. We took the trade here at 11:30. Went short. Target hit. Target was hit there at 84.9. So we can see the market certainly continued all the way down to the 75.7s before starting to be making a bit of a recovery here. Later on during the trading session, I got this signal here, but I did not take this short, and the reason why was because we're slowly consolidating upwards. I also looked at the market from a bigger picture perspective and saw that we had selling through Asia, had selling through Europe before this brief rally coming in towards the PPI news, but we're still seeing a series of selling, and into the US session here we saw more selling. So I was a little bit cautious about taking further sells, as I felt at some point the market would bounce, especially late on here as we head towards around about the 1 p.m. Eastern time. We'll look at ES next. Again, producer prices, we can guess where that came out. It's pretty obvious. 8:30 Eastern Standard is right here on this rather large bearish candle. The market retraced, took out the highs of the PPI, so anybody that was hoping for continuation would have certainly been punished. Came to the market our usual time. Now had some difficulties because relative strength wise ES is stronger than NQ, so had a long setup right here. Went long, scaled out of some of the profits, which later on kind of proved to work in my favor. So went long, halfway down towards stop I scaled out, and eventually I was stopped out on the rest. Then went long. No, is that long? Not sure. Why did I buy there? Oh, I know why I bought there. So this buy was the all-time highs that was been in for a couple of weeks, and that's not the high from yesterday where we made new all-time highs. This was a high from about 2 days ago, I believe, around 68.50s. Saw prices come down, clear out these lows, and we had this rather, I felt, strong bullish candle close near the highs, above the previous all-time highs there from a couple of days ago. Went long, stopped down just below the lows, and prices eventually went on to hit the target of 75.50s there. Then got a true setup on this candle, went long, scaled out as it came towards the stop. Prices came back up, so went long again. When we went back up to my entry, price almost came down to my stop. I decided I wasn't going to do that again and keep the stop in the same place. Came pretty close. Decided to use the default stop all the way down here, and as we can see, prices turned around and eventually hit my target of 79.75. Certainly could have held it longer in hindsight, but that wasn't the goal. Finally, we'll look at NQ. So over on NQ, certainly more volatile instruments, certainly seemed a bit weaker. On NQ, we can see here PPI news came out, market sold around about the US Open. From there, we rallied, made new highs on the day, new highs through the PPI highs. Came into the market, usual time after 11:30, went long, and prices. Okay, I see what happened here. So went long, decided to scale out because the size of the target. So scale out half the position for a small gain. Prices came back down towards the entry. Try to go below the entry for a better entry. For the long. Went long. Price certainly continued to the downside and scaled out of part of the position. So of this position here, scaled out. So was up 100 contracts after this re-entry. Scaled out, so it was only up 50 contracts. Price came up towards the average price. Went long. Price size coming back down to where our scale out would be. Decided to keep the default stop, similar to what I did over on ES. Now this is where I made a bit of a mistake on the trade. So prices were coming on to this high because we're bought all the way down here. Certainly the profits were favorable all the way up here. So price came up to these highs. Notice prices did seem to want to pull back. Seems like it's a noticeable slowdown. So decided to trail my stop to just below these lows here, the previous candle's lows. And what happened was price turned around, took out the previous candle lows and continued to the upside. Now I was in 2 lots, so I was in 100 contracts. I went to scale out 50 at 49.25 and the rest at 52.75. So on this pullback down to 33.75, I was stopped out on all 100 contracts in profit, only to watch the market then turn around immediately, head towards the 49.25, and a couple of candles later hit the 52.75. Through this period here, as prices continue to go to the upside, I thought about FOMOing in long, targeting the 68.25, which would be around the highs of the PPI news. Held some composure, decided that I wasn't going to FOMO in, and so decided not to do that and stay away from the market. So exercised a bit of discipline on my part. Of course, in hindsight, it would have worked out all the way up to 68.25, and I could have got to my daily goal if I'd have done that, but that would be taken away from following the trading system I'm currently using. So there was a trade that wasn't part of the system, and this was that all-time high play here on the long on ES. But overall, it's a pretty solid day. Certainly could have been better. Left a fair bit on the table, not following the plan through here on NQ. Have a look at the account. So on the 13th, I believe that was the last trading day, so started around at 7:20 today. We can see we're up at 77. Started the day out wasn't too bad. Picked up 18 on that first scale out on NQ. Had the loss over on ES, fairly similar size. Picked up the gains on gold. Had a series of losses here through the day on those scale outs, the 24s, 39s, before picking up the 39s on ES. Small scale out there, back again on ES, before picking up 38 and 36. 36 should have been larger. Should have been looking at close towards that 70 mark here if I would have followed the plan as designed, but that wasn't the case. Now we'll have a look at the trade performance. Over on the trade performance here, we can see we took a total of 9 trades, 3 on NQ, 5 on ES, and 1 on gold. The accuracy is at 56%, 5 winners, 4 losers. And we can see here we are negative on ES. Certainly scale outs helped in some areas, didn't help in others, but a fairly small loss overall in terms of P&L. So not going to complain too much about that. We can see that we only had 1 trade on gold. It was successful, 100% accuracy, picked up 36 there, so the average win is 36. Over on our friends at ES, we can see the average win is 38 to 906, certainly favorable, and the average loss 26,875. Again, that's favorable. Those are statistics we like to see. Greater average win and average loss, and even though it's a negative win percentage, it's certainly favorable in terms of average win, and it's not an extraordinary low win percentage as well. So that's why we're pretty much close to break even there. Over on NQ, certainly should have had a fair bit more profit here without the execution mistakes. We can see we only took 3 trades. We had 2 winners and 1 loser. That 1 loser being that scale out, and we can see we had 67% win percentage. The average win being bigger than the average loss with the higher win percentage. And overall, again, 56, and the total P&L today is right there. So with that said, we're going to continue to use the system. Thanks for watching. Good luck trading. Have a great day.